Good afternoon, classmates. So today, we're going to report about the government budget cycle. So the reporters are me, Architect Adolf Vincent Ivigor, and with my colleagues, Engineer Romano Pimentel and Engineer Al Rashin Sayadi. So we're going to report about budget preparation, budget authorization, budget implementation, and budget accountability. So first, about budget preparation. Let's talk about the budget cycle. So the budget cycle are composed of fiscal planning, budget preparation, budget legislation, budget execution, and budget accountability. Now, let's talk about fiscal planning. So the DBCC is a cabinet-level group composed of the National Economic and Development Authority, Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, and the Budget and Finance Departments. It sets the government's macroeconomic assumptions and targets and recommends spending ceilings for economic and social development, national defense, and debt servicing, among others. The DBCC recommends to the President the following. First is the level of annual government expenditures and the ceiling of government spending for economic and social development, national defense, and government debt service. Proper allocation of expenditures for each development activity between current operating expenditures and capital outlays. Amounts set to be allocated for capital outlays broken down into the various capital of infrastructure projects. Going into budget preparation are composed of 7 steps. First is the budget call. Second would be the stakeholder engagement. The third would be technical or budget hearings. The fourth would be executive review. The fifth would be consolidation, validation, and confirmation. The sixth would be presentation to the president and the cabinet. The seventh would be the president's budget. Now, what is bottom-up budgeting? So the General Appropriations Act will be crafted from top to bottom, enabling grassroots institutions to be engaged in the budget preparation process. DBM National Budget Memorandum Number 112 in December 29, 2011 sets the new approach in crafting the government budget aimed to improve the implementation of projects and programs and uplift the poorest regions in the country. Then you also have DBM, BILG, DSWD, and APC Joint Memorandum Circular Number 1 Series of 2012 on March 8, 2012, focusing on community-determined projects such as agriculture and fisheries support, potable water supply, basic education, and public health care. What are the purpose of bottom-up budgeting? The first is in the pursuit of the MDG of reducing poverty from 26.5% in 2009 to 16.6% in 2015 and attaining the Philippine Development Plan's goal of inclusive growth and poverty reduction. Then, piloted by the Human Development and Poverty Reduction Cluster, HDPRC of the Cabinet, it aims to identify the priority development needs of poor communities and harmonize them with the sectoral and regional objectives of government agencies. And we have expand the participation of the civil society organizations and other stakeholders in the budget preparation process and promote wider ownership and monitoring of the government's key public services. Then we have its general procedures of bottom-up budgeting. So the first would be the preparation for poverty reduction planning and budgeting, including the conduct of a city or municipal civil society assembly. Second would be the conduct of local poverty reduction action plan workshop. Then LPRAP endorsement of CSOs, LPRAP adoption of sanggunian. The fifth will be the submission of the list of priority projects to the DILG regional office. Then the sixth will be the consolidation of the projects by the DILG regional office. Seventh, the validation of projects by the regional poverty reduction action teams. Eighth would be the integration of the LGU projects in the budgets of participating agencies. Then the ninth would be the provision of the LGU counterpart, and the 10th would be the project implementation. For its coverage, the coverage of bottom-up budgeting are the following. You have the national government agencies such as DAR, DA, DepEd, DOE, DNR, DOH, DILG, DOLE, DSWD, DOT, DTI, and TESDA. Then we have government-owned and controlled corporations, for example, the National Electrification Administration. Then you have for coordination oversight, you have DBM, DILG, DSWD, NAPC, and NEDA. So the beneficiaries are 1,253 focus cities and municipalities composed of the following. They have original 609 focus LGUs covered by the BOB fiscal year 2013. LGUs with poverty incidence of at least 20% and population of 5,000, and the magnitude of poor population living in barangays exposed to high geohazard risks as identified by MGB, high economic potential areas with high poor population as identified by the NAPC. Then going into uh, budget legislation, we have first House deliberation. After the House deliberation is then brought to the Senate for the deliberations. Then you have the third would be the ratification and enrollment. The fifth would be the veto message, and the sixth would be the enactment. So how does the budget become law? So in accordance with the requirements of the Constitution, the President submits his or her proposed annual budget in the form of budget expenditure and sources of financing (BESF), supported by details of proposed expenditures in the form of a National Expenditure Program (NEP) and the President's budget message, which summarizes the budget policy, thrust, and priorities for the year. So in Congress, the proposed budget goes first to the House of Representatives, which assigns the task of initial budget review to its Appropriation Committee. The Appropriation Committee, together with the other subcommittee, conduct hearings on the budgets and departments or agencies and scrutinize their respective programs and projects. Consequently, the amended budget proposal is presented to the House body as the General Appropriations Bill. While budget hearings are ongoing in the House of Representatives, the Senate Finance Committee, through its different subcommittees, also starts to conduct its own review and scrutiny of the proposed budget and proposes amendments to the House budget bill to the Senate body for approval. To thresh out differences and arrive at a common version of the General Appropriation Bill, the House and the Senate create a bicameral conference committee that finalizes the General Appropriations Bill. So this uh, concludes my report on budget preparation and budget authorization. Then the next topic would be about budget implementation and budget accountability, which would be reported by my uh, colleagues. For budget implementation, this is the report of Engineer Romano Pimentel.
Good day, everyone. I'm Juan Minten, and I'm here to continue the discussion about the government's budget process. What is budget implementation? Budget implementation is actually about budget execution. It is where the people's money is actually spent. As soon as the GA is enacted, the government can implement its priority programs and projects. There are some steps in budget implementation. Number one, release guidelines and program. Number 2, budget execution, documents and ordinance. Number 3, allotment and cash flows program. Number 4, allotment release. Number 5, incurring obligations. Number 6, cash allocations. Number 7, disbursement. First step in budget execution is the release guidance program. The budget execution phase begins with EBM's issuance of guidelines, the release and utilization funds. Second is the budget execution documents, BEDs. Agencies are required to submit BEDs at the start of the budget execution. These documents outline agency plans and performance targets. These BEDs include the fiscal and financial plan, monthly cash program, estimate monthly income, list of obligations that are not yet due and demandable. The third step is allotment and cash flows programming. To ensure that the release fit the approved fiscal program, the DBN prepares an allotment release program ARP to set a limit for allotments issued to an agency and on the aggregate. The ARP of each agency corresponds to the total amount of agency-specific budget under the GAA, as well as automatic appropriations. A cash flows program CRP is also formulated alongside to that to set a guide for disbursement levels for the year and for every month and quarter. Allotment release. Allotments which authorize agency to enter into an obligation are either released by DBM to all agencies comprehensively through the agency budget metrics ABM and individually via special allotment release orders or SAROs. These documents disaggregates all program appropriations for each agency in two main expenditure categories, not needing clearance and needing clearance. The fifth step in budget execution is incurring obligations. Implementing programs, activities, and projects, agencies incur liabilities on behalf of the government. Obligations are liabilities legally incurred, which the government will pay for. These various ways that an agency obligates, for example, when it has staff, an obligation to pay salaries, receives billings for the usabilities, or enters into a contract with an entity for the supply of goods or services. Number 6, cash allocations. To authorize an agency to pay obligation it incurs, DBM issues a disbursement authority. Most of the time, it takes form of notice of cash allocation, NCA, and in special cases, the non-cash availment authority, NCAA, and cash disbursement ceiling, CDC. NCA, this is a cash authority issued periodically by DBM to the operating units of the agencies to cover their cash requirements. The NCA specifies the maximum amount of cash that can be withdrawn from a government serving bank for period indicated. The release of NCAs by DBM is based on the agency submission of its monthly cash programs and other required documents. Other disbursement authorities, in contrast to NCAs are issued to authorize non-cash disbursements. CDCs are meanwhile issued to departments with overseas operations, allowing them to use income collected with foreign cost for operating requirements. The last step is disbursement. This is the final step of the budget execution or implementation phase, where the government monies are actually spent. The modified disbursement scheme is mostly used for disbursements of the national government agencies chargeable against the treasury are made through government servicing banks such as Lending of the Philippines. The budget process, of course, does not end when the government agencies spend public funds. Each and every peso must be accounted for to ensure that it is properly contributing to the achievement of socioeconomic goals. The next would be budget accountability to be discussed by Al-Rashid Sayed. Thank you very much.
Hi, good day. I am Arasin Sayadi, presenting the budget accountability in our Philippine budget cycle. Budget accountability, this phase happens alongside the budget execution phase. Through budget accountability, the DBM monitors the efficiency of fund utilization, assesses agency performance, and provides a vital basis for reforms and new policies. Budget accountability involves performance and target outcomes, budget accountability reports or BARs, review of agency performance, audit, and performance-based incentive system. For the performance and target outcomes, agencies are held accountable not only for how these use public funds ethically, but also on how these attain performance targets and outcomes using available resources. These performance measures are set alongside the preparation of the national budget. Prior to the execution of the enacted national budget, these performance targets are firmed up during the preparation of budget execution document or BEDS. Next is the budget accountability reports or BARs. Submitted by agencies on a monthly and quarterly basis, BARs are required reports that show how agencies use their funds and identify their corresponding fiscal accomplishments. These include quarterly fiscal and financial reports of operations, quarterly income reports, a monthly statement of allotments, obligations and balances, and monthly report of disbursement. Next, for the review of agency performance, the DBM regularly reviews the financial and physical performance of agencies. Actual utilization of funds and physical accomplishments are indicated in the agency's bars, are evaluated against their targets, and in the agency's beds. Agency performance reviews are conducted quarterly or every semester as the case may be. And an annual budget performance assessment review is conducted to determine each agency's accomplishments and performance by the year end. And the DBM regularly reports results to the president. Next is for the audit. Auditing is not within the DBM's jurisdiction and is instead lodged under the Commission on Audit or COA. Nonetheless, auditing is critical in ensuring agency accountability in the use of public funds. The DBM uses COA's audit reports in confirming agency performance, determining budgetary levels for agencies, and addressing issues in fund usage. Lastly is the performance-based incentive system. The DBM is also in the process of establishing a performance-based incentive system which will recognize and reward good performance among government employees to help improve the efficiency of service delivery across all government institutions. And that's all for the budget accountability, and thank you.